What is up, YouTube? Dottz Gaming here, and today I'm bringing you guys my PvP basics guide for the Elder Scrolls Online. But this guide is going to cover more than just the basic amounts with the PvP areas, how to enter them, etc. This guide is also going to cover my personal tips on how to improve your PvP performance and go from a noob to a great PvPer. But before we get into that part, we're going to start off with the basics. We got to start somewhere. So, player PvP, or player versus player in ESO, comes in 4 forms, each containing their own rewards and achievements and challenges. You have Cyrodiil, Battlegrounds, Imperial City, and Dueling. Now, Cyrodiil is the game's original PvP and takes place in, you guessed it, the province of Cyrodiil in the center of Tamriel. In this zone, the 3 alliances fight for control. You have to seize castles, take resources and outposts, push your enemies back to claim victory in this zone. Now, you can choose to travel alone with a small group or join a horde of your allies in swarming the castle walls. To enter Cyrodiil, simply click the castle icon in your menus. From here, you will see that there are different campaigns you can join, which are simply different instances of Cyrodiil that have slightly different settings. Some are CP enabled, some are no CP, and some are for below level 50 characters. If you click on a campaign, it will explain what its settings are. Now, I'm not going to describe the campaigns each based off their current names because they're going to change very soon with Somerset, but each campaign is slightly different in its own right. The length of a campaign is normally either 7 days or 30 days, and that has to do with the campaign's reward structure. The more things that your faction holds, i.e. keeps, outposts, resources, and Elder Scrolls, the more points your faction gets. And at the end of the campaign, whichever faction has the most points wins the campaign and gets the corresponding rewards. The campaign score then resets, not the map, and the new campaign duration begins. You are able to access 2 campaigns at a time: your home campaign and your guest campaign, and you'll be able to set which is which by right-clicking a campaign and selecting set as home or set as guest. In this case, for me, that says abandoned, but see, I could set this as home or set this as guest. The home campaign is the campaign that you are able to participate in the campaign's leaderboards while you're unable to on your guest campaign. So I would recommend setting the campaign that you think you're going to be in the most as your home campaign, with your guest campaign being the one that you wouldn't mind playing with if your primary is either full, or if you have friends that play on another campaign, or if you just simply want to change of pace. These can eventually be changed. It's not like once you choose your home campaign, it's completely set in stone, but it does come at a cost of alliance points or gold, I think. I think sometimes you could switch it for free, but normally it does come at a cost. But I'll explain more about what alliance points are in a second. Now, once you set your home and or guest campaign, right-clicking that campaign and choosing to enter it will enter you into Cyrodiil. Just on another note, the bars next to the alliances indicate the population of your alliance within that instance of Cyrodiil. A lock on it means that there are no more members in your alliance that can join until people leave, but you can click enter instance and place yourself into a queue to get into that campaign. Now, once you are in Cyrodiil, you will be placed at your faction's home base. Once you are in the home base, you can use the transistor stones to move around Cyrodiil. Now, you're going to get a quest when you first enter Cyrodiil. You're going to enter in right back here where all these other people are, and there's going to be a quest giver really close to the entrance, like right about here when you enter in for the first time. I actually think it might even be this guy right here. Like when you first enter in, he will give you a quest. This quest explains the basics of the zone, siege, etc. So I'm not going to cover them in this guide, and instead I highly recommend that you do this quest since it teaches you the basics of what you need to know and rewards a skill point. Now, when you do things in Cyrodiil, you earn a currency called alliance points. And alliance points allow you to purchase siege, different motifs, weapon and gear satchels, items from the golden vendor, and more. As you earn AP, you're going to get mail as well, contain something called the rewards of the worthy. And the rewards of the worthy can contain gear, and on the first one that you open per day on your account will also contain a transmutation geode that is guaranteed to give you at least 4, but can give you a lot more. And at the end of a campaign, also bundled into those end of campaign rewards, you also get a big geode which can have a lot of geodes in it. You can or a lot of transmute stones, excuse me, in it. So PvP is definitely a great way to get transmute stones if you are in need of them. Earning a lot of AP can also put you into the running to become the Emperor. To become the Emperor of Cyrodiil, you must have the most AP earned on that campaign cycle while capturing and holding all the keeps around the Imperial City, as shown here. It will be Robeck, Alessia, Blue Road Keep, Chalman, Fort Alaswell, and Fort Ash. Those are the ones that you need to hold. Those 6 are known as the Emperor Keeps, and those are the ones that you're going to need to hold, as the AD is currently doing right now, in order to become the Emperor. When you are crowned Emperor, you earn a title, a costume, a die, and you get a passive skill line that makes your character super powerful while you're the Emperor. Now, to dethrone the Emperor, the other alliances need to capture the keeps around the Imperial City, and then the Emperor loses their bonus and their title becomes former Emperor. When you want to leave Cyrodiil, simply go back to your home base, which is shown by these shields on the map. If you simply go back to your home base, there will be way shrines in those home bases, and you can take those way shrines to exit Cyrodiil and port out to wherever you want to go. The second type of PvP in the Elder Scrolls Online is Battlegrounds, originally a Morrowind exclusive, but has become base game, and will become base game, with Somerset. Battlegrounds are a no champion point enabled 4 versus 4 versus 4 PvP instance that can have a variety of rules based on the game mode that you get. There's just straight up team deathmatch, capture the flag, domination, and a host of other game types. At the current moment, at the recording this video, you simply queue either solo or with a party in a grab bag that has all of the game types in it. Come Somerset, you're going to be able to drill down a little bit further and queue for a group of game types instead of all of them to allow you to become, be more likely to get the game mode that you actually want to play. In addition, while solo and team players are all thrown into the same queue, Somerset is going to change the matchmaking metrics a little bit, and you're going to be much less likely to be placed against full teams of people as a solo player. Now, to queue for a Battleground match, you simply go into your group pane, scroll down to Battlegrounds, click grab bag at the current moment, or the type of game modes that you want. When Somerset comes in, queue on up. Now, you get rewarded alliance points and rewards of the worthy, similarly to Cyrodiil. And you also get other gear that's Battleground specific that you can only earn through playing BGs. Now, come Somerset as well, you're going to get your first Battleground of the day reward, similarly to how normal dungeons work. But to get the reward, your team must place first or second, so you simply can't AFK and expect to get rewards. Now, if you want a daily quest for Battlegrounds, you could head to the docks of Vvardenfell. At the time of making this video, you want to head to the Vvardenfell docks. So if I go to the Vivec City, it is right here, the Gladiators' Quarters. And you'll be able to get a daily quest to win Battlegrounds for a reward, as well as be able to buy boxes that contain pieces of the Battleground gear rewards. The quest giver and the vendor locations, though, will change with Somerset and instead be in your faction's starting city. Volcal Guard for the Aldemary Dominion, Daggerfall for the Daggerfall Covenant, and Davin's Watch for the Ebonheart Pact. The third type of PvP is the Imperial City, which you must enter Cyrodiil to get to, and you must have, at least at the time of recording this video, have the Imperial DLC to access it. To get to IC, simply enter Cyrodiil and run to your faction's IC sewer entrance. For the Dominion, it is about here. For the Covenant, it is here. And for the Ebonheart Pact, it is here. When you get to the Imperial City, you will be in your faction's home base in the sewers. Now, if I recall correctly, there is a quest that does explain some of the basics of IC, but I don't know how good it was, so I'll give you guys a crash course. You earn a currency called Telvar when you're in the sewers and the city above. There's 2 sections to the Imperial City DLC, and this currency can be used to buy special rewards and things exclusively from Telvar merchants, which is located in your faction sewer base. So as you can see, this is the sewers below, and up here is the Imperial City itself. And in my specific section, which is back here, you can see there are Telvar merchants, as you can see here at the Telvar Store Exchange. Now, Telvar is rewarded for killing monsters and other players within the city or the sewers. When you die in IC, though, you do lose the majority of your Telvar, so make sure to go back and bank it every now and then to store them. In the city above the sewers, there are different districts that you can capture in order to increase your alliance's power inside of IC and allow more Telvar to be earned in the district, as shown here. These different districts symbols here are the representation, and as you can see, the capture bonus gives me 33% increased Telvar while inside the district. Now, IC is like a smaller scale version of Cyrodiil, but with all the nooks and crannies all over the place, you never know who is watching you and might be waiting to kill you for your Telvar, so it's always good to run back whenever you can to store it. Now, in the middle of the sewers, there are some boss fights that you can get into. You can actually summon Molag Bal and have to try to fight him, and you can get a die from doing that as well. Now, remember, each faction has its own base down here in the sewers, so be careful for other players running around the sewers as well. And one other thing you can do with your Telvar is some of the stuff at these merchants are highly desired by other players, specifically Hokkaido, which is a rune that enchanters can use to create the coveted prismatic enchant, which gives you all 3 resources on your piece of gear. So definitely something to buy and sell if you want a way to get some easy gold from your Telvar if you don't need any of the items. The final type of PvP is dueling. Out in the world, you can simply approach another player and move to interact with them and select duel. Should they accept, the battle spirit buff will be applied to both players and the duel will begin. That's simple. So now, with the basics of PvP and the different game types out of the way, let's move on to the second part of this guide, and that's the how to get good part of the guide. Now, in my opinion, the road to actually improving at ESO PvP, similarly to many things in life, starts with you and your mindset, more so than anything in-game. I've seen less mechanically gifted players improve much quicker than those who are more mechanically talented due to having the correct attitude. Now, the road to improvement, in my opinion, is broken down into 2 parts. You have the mental part and the physical part, what you think and what you do. The mental part, I believe, needs to be hammered out first, so we're going to start with that. Now, not everyone needs to work on this part, but some people do. Now, if you're rolling your eyes right now or thinking to yourself, this Dottz guy is just talking out of his butt, then this part is especially for you, and it's also especially for you if you think you're just god-awful and that you'll never improve and that you're just absolutely terrible. Now, starting with the first mindset of people I mentioned, generally the ones that probably think I'm talking out my butt right now, simply put, you need to put your ego aside and realize that you're probably not as good as you think you are. This roadblock, in my opinion, is probably the hardest one for your average player to overcome because it's a hard mental challenge and a humbling one. To reach the conclusion that you really do have a lot of improvement and that you're not nearly as good as something as you thought you once were. But this is the metaphorical lock on the door that leads to improvement. And until you can humble yourself, put your ego aside, and realize that there is work to be done and a lot to learn, you're not going to improve at the highest potential rate that you can simply because you think you're already there, when in reality you're not. Stop blaming things for why other people are good and realize that you might just need to improve. We all have something we need to work on. Now, the players who do improve are the ones that realize they have weak points and work to shore up those weak points. So leave your ego at the door and realize that there is work to get done. Now, the other mindset of people that I'm going to address is the group of people that think they're horrible and will never improve. Every expert and every player that is good in this game started as a beginner and improved to get where they are. If you keep telling yourself that, oh, you're never going to improve and you're never going to get better unless something happens, then that is what's going to happen. You're going to be bad forever. And I'm sorry to be so blunt, but the mental part of improving is the hardest, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. If you think I'm never going to be as good as X person or I can't improve because of whatever, then you won't. You need to actually believe in yourself as a person and as a gamer and realize the ability to improve at ESO, and frankly, anything is within your hands. And when you tell yourself, I'm going to put in the work and improve, you're actually going to see the improvement over time. It's not going to be easy, but if you put in the time and the effort, the sky is the limit. So with the motivational mental stuff out of the way and over, let's move on to the physical steps of what you need to do to improve and get better. The number one thing you need to do to start is get a solid open world PvP build. Now you need to get something solid to start with and stick with it. Do not change your build every 5 seconds because it's going to be like starting at ground zero every single time. Look up some builds for some players you like or if they have a play style you enjoy. Look at how the build plays and its overall style. See if it interests you, build it and stick with it, or build something for yourself. Obviously, if you play a Standblade or Magic DK, I recommend my builds as starting points, and for other classes, I recommend checking out dottsgaming.com for your PvP build needs. But if you don't see anything there that suits your style, check out other guides on YouTube to find what you like, or like I said, simply craft something of your own design. But once you find something, stick with it. That's your build. So you're all mentally ready to improve. You have your build. Now what? This is the long-term part. Smart and effective practice. Do not Zerg surf. You are looking to improve your skills here, not gain alliance points. And there are 2 things in particular that at least helped me a lot when playing to improve. Going into Cyrodiil as a solo player or with one other person max and trying to pick fights, and dueling. In my opinion, the combination of these two things over a long period of time will really, really help you improve. I also recommend, if you're able to, recording and watching back your gameplay. It's much easier to pick out your errors and mistakes when you're watching someone else, or in this case yourself, play than when you're actually the person behind the controller or the keyboard playing. You're able to see things when you're set back and not focusing on it when you're actually in the moment doing it. But it's literally quite as simple as throwing yourself at enemy players over and over and over again. It's not glamorous. It's very frustrating, especially when you encounter people who are toxic. But just know that you are, in fact, improving, whether you know it or not. I have spent entire nights in Cyrodiil on stream as a solo player, dying over and over again. Back especially when I first started, I would get made fun of on stream constantly. People telling me I'm bad, saying and laughing, being like, oh, here goes Dottz, just running in and dying again, typical Dottz. But I didn't care. I wasn't there to try to gain alliance points or pretend that I look good or play in a way that's going to make me look good. I was there to improve, and I was playing to get better at the game and to learn. So I put myself in really hard situations and forced myself to get better, and I did. I improved really quickly, and I attribute those improvements to the difficult encounters that I placed myself in. Now, you could also play with a friend if that is more comfortable for you, if you just prefer to play with others, but I would recommend playing with only one other person maximum to prevent yourself from being carried by group mates. You want to try to have to rely on yourself and your own skills as much as possible. Remember, leave your ego at the door. Things are not going to be pretty for a little bit, but in time, you'll be out there slaying and getting hate whispers because you're putting toxic players in their place. Now, another thing that I would do is I would just spend a night occasionally dueling outside of Wayrest, picking players to duel. And I would always try to duel the guy that was kicking my ass over and over and over again, and not the guy I was able to beat. The goal is to try to play against people who are better than you and who will in turn challenge you to be better. If someone keeps routinely beating you over and over again, ask them for advice or what they're running. Sometimes you're going to get a toxic player that tells you to get good scrub, but other times, players are going to tell you what they're using and explain why they're beating you and what they're doing, and you can use that information in the future to try and better yourself and better formulate a plan on how to deal with them. In time, you'll also learn what classes and builds you struggle against, and I'd recommend seeking out those interactions as a method of improving. Now, as you learn and improve, feel free to tune that build you started with to further accentuate your playstyle. I personally think that at the beginning, you should stick to something for a while to learn the ins and outs of your setup, then in time, alter and change things to meet your specific needs. But as you're practicing, though, and putting yourself in these outnumbered situations and tough duels, you do need to objectively look at your gameplay. Why am I dying? Am I maintaining all my buffs and debuffs? How is my resource management? Am I blocking and dodging key skills? Do I know my skills well enough, or am I looking at my ability bar and not paying attention to the game around me? Am I looking for windows to burst or just using my big skills randomly? Am I paying attention to what my opponent is doing or just tunneling into myself? All of these little things add up and need to be paid attention to, and you do need to work your best to improve on them. I also recommend doing research on your class and the game as well. See what other players are doing. See how they play. See what combos they use. Don't just, don't copy what another player is doing. Don't copy their build, but make yourself think about your class in a different way and see your class and how you're playing it in another player's interpretation and their ideas. And this can get you thinking about your own gameplay, what you're doing, and open you up to a new perspective that you may have not considered previously. I still do it to this day. Whenever I'm playing a character or building a character, I love looking at what other people are doing because I want to learn what does this player think and why do they think that? What does this person think and why do they think that? And then I crowdsource all of this information, then put my opinion into it, and then construct a build and test things and figure things out. And maybe your opinions change on certain things. Maybe there are other opinions you have are reinforced. It's just, don't limit yourself to just your own perspective. Broaden yourself and listen to other people's thoughts and ideas, and it will in turn make you a better player, and you'll be able to learn more, improve, and just become better. Now, some people may say this advice is a little ambiguous, but PvP encounters in and of themselves are quite varied and dynamic, and improvement in what people need to work on is different, and everyone has a different skill set. But no matter what your strengths and weaknesses are, the main pillars to improvement are still your mentality, your willingness to put yourself in uncomfortable situations, and your curiosity to learn more about your class and setup. It's an ongoing process, and you never really finish, because no matter how good you become, there's always room for improvement. But that's it for today's video, guys. I hope you all enjoyed it. This was a video I've been looking forward to putting together for a very long time. This was a Patreon requested video, so I do hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did enjoy this guide and find the information in it helpful, I'd appreciate if you smacked a like on it. For more great ESO guides, stream VODs here on the YouTube channel, and just more great content, I'd appreciate if you hit that sub button, as well as hit the little bell to keep notifications on so that you always know what I'm doing here on the YouTube channel. So thank you guys again so much for watching. I'm Dottz Gaming, and I'll see you all next time.